Raider Nation, the vibe in Las Vegas today is something else. Word broke about the Raiders' offense that honestly will tick off every fan out there, but we also heard some heavy talk about the team's future. There was serious buzz about who could be the next major name to wear the silver and black, a strong player statement about the Cowboys' defense, and insiders saying Geno's time might be officially over. And trust me, the last part is the one that hits hardest. Stick with me because the ending really lands. Now, before we dive into all these stories real quick, well, let me tell you something. Hit that subscribe button. It's free, doesn't cost you a thing, and it helps keep this fan-to-fan conversation alive. Smash the like button too, because that pushes this video to more people across Raider Nation, and drop a comment below because this space is all yours. It's tough not to feel irritated after what we saw from this offense. Watching our unit operate like this genuinely hurts. We spent the entire offseason hearing that the offense would turn the page, that Chip Kelly would bring this so-called new rhythm, that Geno Smith would be the perfect piece to make everything click. And now, in the middle of a chaotic season, none of it makes sense. Absolutely none of it. And to be honest with you, everyone in Raider Nation, men and women, is questioning this weird storyline the team keeps trying to sell us. Sometimes it feels like they're testing our patience just for fun. This offense has no identity. They talk philosophy, talk run-first mentality, but when it is time to stick to it, they abandon everything. They have abandoned it multiple times. Ashton Jeanty, a first-round pick, is being treated like he just wandered onto the roster. When the run game finally clicks, they ditch it. And that is infuriating because we have seen this movie before. The defense carrying the weight while the offense stands around confused. And that is where everything gets heavier. They refuse to adjust anything on offense while flipping the rest of the team upside down, firing the special teams coordinator, changing defensive rotations, swapping pieces for tiny fixes, but the offense feels untouchable. Hondo Carpenter even highlighted this on the podcast. Players see the imbalance. They see one side of the team treated like a test lab while the offense is shielded. How wouldn't that create tension in the locker room? It is completely natural. And things get even crazier when you remember we are heading into a second straight primetime game, everyone watching, everyone judging. Last week, the offense collapsed in front of the entire country, and now we have another spotlight waiting. If this becomes another meltdown, the discussion about changes will not be whispers. It will be a roar. And what hits me hardest is how much pretending is going on. Pretending the offense is almost there. Pretending Geno is fully healthy. Pretending Kelly has everything under control. No one can keep pretending anymore. Not the fans, not the women in the fan base who are fed up, not even the players. The next game will say a lot. And trust me, the next story pushes even deeper into the team's future. Here is where things start to shift toward long-term thinking, and you can almost hear that collective sigh from the fan base. This team desperately needs direction. The season feels stuck, the offense stumbles, the defense hangs on, and suddenly the big question comes back: what is the next major move? The kind of swing that actually changes things. And honestly, sometimes it feels like we are always waiting for a miracle. This whole conversation heated up because the front office played it way too safe at the trade deadline, as if there was still something to salvage Raider Nation. Men and women looked at that and thought, really, nothing? We heard all year about the 2025 class being the future, but now analysts are saying the real answer might not come until 2026. Then Josh Edwards' projection dropped. He pointed to Peter Woods as the ideal addition for Las Vegas in that next big cycle, and honestly, it makes perfect sense. The guy is massive and powerful, around 315 pounds, and even in a strange season for Clemson, he flashed everything scouts originally loved. He is not a highlight stat guy. He is the type who collapses pockets, plugs gaps, and forces running backs to change direction. That is exactly the help Max Crosby has needed for years. And Edwards nailed it by saying the Raiders look like a team in transition, even if they will not admit it. That lack of clarity wears the fan base down. One day it is playoffs, next day it is rebuild, then they repeat the same mistakes. We are stuck in limbo. Fans watch the field and see needs everywhere. Offensive line, quarterback, defensive interior, linebacker, corner. Picking just one feels random, but choosing someone like Woods would send a message. Crosby isn't carrying this alone anymore. It would finally be direction, and if the Raiders are picking high again, they cannot afford to miss. Woods' numbers: 2 sacks, 1 pass deflection, won't wow anyone, but his tape shows real potential. And if the next coach wants to rebuild the defense from the inside out, he becomes a day one piece. But hold up, The next story ties directly into the upcoming game and shifts the energy completely. What came next honestly lit a spark we haven't seen in a while. Out of all people, it came from a rookie, a young guy still learning what it means to wear the silver and black, but already speaking with the kind of confidence that makes the whole fan base stop and pay attention. Ashton Jeanty dropped his thoughts about facing the Cowboys, and I swear I found myself nodding like, that's what I'm talking about. When your offense looks shaky, any glimpse of conviction is gold. And Jeanty wasn't bluffing. He respected their talent, acknowledged Quinnen Williams' arrival, recognized the added interior strength, but he still pointed out weaknesses, clear spots to attack. That is the mentality of a player who does not bow to a 2-7 record, and it fired up Raider Nation, men and women who are tired of seeing hesitation from the offense. The Cowboys' recent performances only boost that confidence. They struggled against Jacoby Brissett, could not slow down Amari DeMercado, and got gashed repeatedly. That sets off a giant alarm. If a patched-up offense exposed them, why couldn't ours, supposedly more talented, do the same? Dallas has been wildly inconsistent on defense. Misreads, bad angles, arm tackles, exactly what a fast, explosive runner like Jeanty thrives against. But here is the catch. Jeanty's confidence only matters if Chip Kelly stops abandoning the run the moment it starts working. We have seen him do that too many times. Raider Nation wants commitment. If the kid is hot, feed him. If there is space, attack it. The women in the fan base are demanding it loudly too. Attitude, courage, not fear. And Monday Night Football is the perfect stage. If Jeanty is used right, he could be a real problem for Dallas and give the offense a massive morale boost. But that spark, it crashes straight into the next bombshell, because behind the scenes, the biggest storyline is Geno Smith. This next part lands with a weight you can feel immediately. When the topic shifts to the quarterback's future, everything gets serious. And what surfaced about Geno Smith isn't rumor. It is a legitimate scenario built on performance, contracts, and standings. I literally braced myself reading it because you could feel what was coming. To be fair, none of this is shocking. The season is sinking, the offense is stuck, and Geno hasn't shown the spark that was supposed to justify his extension. But what Dan Graziano laid out changes everything. He said that if the Raiders finish with the first overall pick, Geno's time in Las Vegas ends instantly. No drama, no slow fade, just over. And that shakes fans because quarterback is always the team's heartbeat. Graziano's reasoning is airtight. If the Raiders are that bad, Geno clearly didn't turn things around. And the inconsistent performances have been impossible to ignore. Uncalled for interceptions, hesitation, disappearing in big moments. Inconsistency becomes identity, and that kills any team trying to compete. Fans feel it. The women in the fan base feel it. Everyone sees the writing on the wall. Then there is the contract. Most people think it complicates things, but it really doesn't. The Raiders' bonus structure makes moving on easier than it looks. Not cheap, but doable, especially if you are rebuilding. The twist is Pete Carroll. He believes in Geno more than anyone, and that belief is the only reason Geno is still starting. But if the team ends at the bottom, Carroll might be gone too. And if Carroll goes, Geno loses the only anchor keeping him in place. Total domino effect. Then comes the bigger debate. What do they do with the first overall pick? Most say quarterback. Obvious choice. But Matt Miller says Arvell Reese would be a perfect fit next to Crosby, fast, violent, built to disrupt Mahomes, Herbert, and Bo Nix. And suddenly the fan base faces the brutal choice, elite defense or future quarterback. No easy answer, and that brings us to the hardest truth. Maybe it is time to think beyond 2025. You can actually feel the tension shift when the conversation turns here. This is the part no fan wants to admit. Maybe it is already time to look past 2025, and that stings. Raider Nation survives on passion, waiting for that breakthrough moment, believing even in chaotic seasons. I stared at the screen thinking, are we really here again? But the situation is clear. The team is 2-7, the offense has no identity, the consistency is gone, and the messaging doesn't match the product. One day they want a run-heavy strategy, the next day they abandon it. They say they will feature the young guys, then stick to the same rigid rotation. And the question fans keep asking, men and women, is simple. If the playoffs are not realistic, why not build for the future right now? Hondo Carpenter hit this point directly. Maybe it is time to see who is part of the solution. Put players like Charles Grant on the field, not to tank, but to understand who has grit, who has the right instincts, who grows under real pressure. Practice doesn't teach that. Only real snaps do. Raider Nation has begged for this for years, but the team keeps pushing the mathematical chance narrative. Technically, anything is possible, but emotionally and competitively, this team is nowhere near contention, and that is not quitting. It is clarity. It is planning. It is refusing to enter another offseason blind, drafting based on hope instead of information. This cycle has to end. And of course, this whole conversation resurfaces because the offense collapsed again, and now another Monday Night Football spotlight is waiting. If the offense repeats last week's disaster, the avalanche of criticism will be massive because Raider Nation loves this team fiercely, even when it knocks us down too. After all of this, there is that strange mix of frustration and pride only Raider Nation truly understands. We talked about a broken offense, future decisions, Ginty's spark, the pressure on Geno, and the growing need to think past 2025, and through all the chaos, that stubborn flame inside this fan base never goes out. This team frustrates us, fires us up, breaks us, and lifts us, sometimes all in the same day, but that is why we stay. Drop a comment below. This space belongs to everyone who lives silver and black, and stick around for the next video, because every time we think we have seen everything, something new blows up.